The Republican circular firing squad is giving new hope to Democrats in next year's congressional election.
They do not feel that they have to toe the party line. They do not feel that the president is leading the party in a particular direction.
We're just talking about, I said, geez, we've got McCain versus Ron Johnson, we've got McConnell versus Trump, and he goes, and on Monday we led with Republican infighting, and it's gotten worse.
It hasn't exactly been smooth sailing, right? What are the words?
That's one way to put it.
Dysfunction,
yeah,
chaos.
Yeah. The media reveling in what they see as disarray within the Republican Party, but Karl Rove argues in a new piece that it's actually the Democrats who are in trouble, as progressive intolerance, as he sees it, is preventing the party from staging any sort of comeback. While another Wall Street Journal piece sees the same issues and suggests some radical solutions, F.H. Buckley writing, quote, "It's hard to see how they can moderate their maximalist positions on abortion, Black Lives Matter, and transgender issues. The entire current leadership of the Democratic Party would need to be replaced." Here now, Karl Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor to President George W. Bush. It's interesting, Karl, to watch all the Democrats have a point. The Republicans do have some infighting, and they had a big legislative loss before they went on recess. But I feel like the bigger story here, and it's masking their problems, is that the Democrats have not recovered in any way from the loss of last November. And I think that what you argued this morning is they're not on the road to actually repairing that at all.
No, they aren't. They're in the weakest condition they've been in a century in terms of numbers in state legislatures, numbers of governors. There are 15 Democratic governors out of 50 states, 34 Republicans and 1 independent. And the Republicans before last week were at 33. They got their 34th when the governor of West Virginia, who was elected last November, Trump is winning the state by 42 points. Jim Justice, the Democrat nominee, wins it by 7. And yet, less than 7 months after taking office, he switches parties, saying, in essence, Democratic legislators don't support me. I can't get anything done in Washington by being a Democrat. And he stood proudly beside Donald Trump at a huge, boisterous rally in Huntington, West Virginia, and switched parties. And it's just a sign of the weakness of the Democrats. They can't hold their coalition together.
Is it partly because they don't really have a leader? So President Trump is leader of the Republican Party now, and of course there's some infighting about that, but I think it's actually mild compared to the problems that Democrats have, which is who is their leader? Clinton is not. Obama is basically off the scene for now. Biden is not necessarily it. Pelosi is really the most visible leader, and her unpopularity is sky high.
Yeah, look, they have 2 unpopular leaders in Congress, Schumer and Pelosi. You're right. Obama's off vacationing. Hillary Clinton is discredited. The problem for them is that they have the ascendant wing of the Democratic Party is the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. These are the intolerants. These are the resistance. These are the people who have nothing going for them except just fervent opposition to anything that Donald Trump does.
Well, speaking of that, can I show you this T-shirt that's for sale at Netroots Nation? This was tweeted today from Ken Klippenstein on Twitter. It's Impeach Trump. Okay, can you see that with, the hammer and sickle? Do you think that the Democrats are so blinded by their, I don't want to say hatred, but their dislike of President Trump, that they can't pull themselves together and realize that you can't actually win elections based on the narrow issues that they're using to pull them further and further to the left?
I think that's right. I think there are 2 things going on here. You touch on one of them, which is anger at Trump is not sufficient enough to convince swing voters to come your way. And to the degree that they have a plan, it's things like, the hard progressive left of the Democratic Party now says you have to be for single payer, or Our Revolution, the group that spun off of the Sanders campaign, says if you're not as a Democrat candidate for single payer health care, we'll primary you. And they've already chosen a candidate in Nevada who's running against Harry Reid's favorite. And so the Democrats are pulling themselves apart because you've got the Warren-Sanders wing of the party saying we got to go hard to the left, and a lot of Democrats saying that stuff doesn't sell unless you're living in Marin County, California, or the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Now, to turn it over to the Republicans, let's take a listen to what President Trump said today about Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
They said, Mitch, get to work and let's get it done. They lost by 1 vote. For a thing like that to happen is a disgrace.
Would Senator McConnell consider stepping down as Majority Leader?
If he doesn't get repeal and replace done, and if he doesn't get taxes done, meaning cuts and reform, and if he doesn't get a very easy one to get done, infrastructure, if he doesn't get them done, then you can ask me that question.
Okay, so Karl, do you think that this is Much ado about nothing, a little bit of bluster, maybe from both sides, or just some frustration? Or is there a real breakdown in communication here that will prevent them from getting those things that the president wants passed?
I hope it's a little kerfuffle. I hope it's bluster. I hope it's not a real serious breakdown. Because, look, if there's not a strong working relationship between the Republicans in the House and the Senate and the White House, if we're going to be conducting Twitter wars and insulting each other, then nothing much is going to get done. I frankly think that Senator McConnell, maybe it wasn't good for him to make the comment in front of the Rotary Club or whatever it was in Louisville, Kentucky, but he had a point, which is presidents should lower the expectations of the American people. Take the remark that he just made. I want a big infrastructure program, he said. We are 7 months, nearly 7 months into the Trump administration. This week, they're appointing members of an infrastructure committee, and they have yet to send up a bill to the Congress of what they want in an infrastructure bill. They've talked about it endlessly for 7 months, but they haven't sent forward a bill. Lower the expectations. Tell the American people this is tough to do, and it's going to take some time. And then when you get it done, they'll be happily surprised. But there's no good. Yeah, if Trump goes out and says, President Trump goes out and says bad things about the Republicans in Congress, it's not going to hurt him in 2018. It's going to hurt the Republicans in Congress. But if that gives him a Democrat House or Democrat Senate, he ain't going to like that for the last 2 years of his first term. And when he gets to run for re-election, people are not going to say, hey, it's somebody else's fault you didn't get things done. They'll hold him responsible. He ought to be focused on cultivating the relationships necessary to move his agenda forward and get it done. His success is bound up in that, just as the success of the Republicans in Congress is.
They are yoked. Okay, Karl Rove, thank you so much.